We now know what the Canadian Olympic team is going to look like, Dave. And there's obviously, as always, a lot of discourse about who made the team, who was the big snubs. What was your overall impressions of how Hockey Canada decided to put this group together that's going to compete in Milano in a couple of months?
Well, look, I mean, it's one of the great privileges of our business to be able to talk about this team, right? Because we're talking about the best of the best, and you're talking about probably, so many different combinations that could win the gold and should win the gold. And the beauty of this team is that no matter who you leave off, pretty much, no matter who you allegedly snub, you still got the favorite to come home from Milan with the important hardware, right? So this team can win the gold. This team should win the gold. You get a $190 million cap hit on this roster, Al's brother. I think they should do okay for themselves. So I have no problem with the team in general, but I do have a couple of specific quibbles. How about you?
I mean, I think everybody's going to have, one or two guys who missed the team that they thought would have been there. I mean, I think the one that everybody's crying about is Sam Bennett, right? And he was a big part of the Four Nations last year. He's obviously the reigning playoff MVP, winning the Conn Smythe. He's played big in big games. And obviously that's a player that I think a lot of people expected to see announced today, and he wasn't. Is that the guy? Is that one of the quibbles you have, that Sam Bennett was not named to the team?
That would be quibble with a capital Q.
Yeah.
Number one, in flashing lights and neon, whatever, the largest sign you can possibly buy, a billboard out, on Yonge Street to let the world know that I think Sam Bennett got absolutely screwed here, because this guy's done everything. Like, what more do you need to do to prove that you are Mr. Clutch, that you are a guy that can be counted on when the chips are down, when the moment is biggest, when the pressure is highest? Sam Bennett's done it all. You win the Conn Smythe, you lead the NHL in playoff scoring. You score a huge goal in last year's Four Nations that ties the game that you eventually win in overtime against the U.S. You draw that game's only penalty. You lead Canada in shots on goal in that final game. You are as tough as nails. You are a freaking menace on the ice that other teams fear, that other teams have to have a head on the swivel when you're around. And somehow, at the most important moment of your career, in what would be like a crowning achievement of all these guys' careers, the first Olympics, best on best in more than a decade, you're off the roster. Like, make that make sense, Al's brother.
Yeah, I mean, look, it obviously is one that was a big question mark. It raises eyebrows, but if you listen to the press conference from Doug Armstrong, who is going to join us, by the way, at 4:30 in about 20 minutes or so, and whether or not he's going to, go behind the scenes here and explain why he did or didn't, take Sam Bennett or player A, player B. He did mention that they had a meeting back on December 2nd, and they left that meeting and had 12 forwards, 7D, and 2 goalies locked in, which meant there was really only room for 2 more players at that point, or 2 more forwards, 1 defenseman, and 1 goaltender. And from that standpoint, you look at the season that Sam Bennett had leading up to December 2nd, and it wasn't that great, right? He had a very slow start, and I wonder how much that slow start had to do with the decision to leave him off. Like, at that point, when they got together and they left on December 2nd, they had decided, okay, Sam Bennett had a career year last season, but it's starting to regress back to the means, and at that point, they maybe ruled him out. But then he had a great December. Like, the last few weeks, he's been coming on. Like, he's, up to 19 goals now? Like, he's having a pretty good season, when all's said and done, when you put it together. But I wonder if that slow start, how much that really cost him his roster spot here on Team Canada.
That's fair, but the bottom line is, if that's actually what cost him the roster spot, that they were making decisions on December 2nd about who was going to be on this team when they had a whole another month to essentially wait.
Well, I think
and see.
that and you couple in who made the team over him. Like, I mean, it's tough to any of these players that didn't make the team. I mean, Mark Scheifele didn't make the team. They left Seth Jarvis off the team, who was at the Four Nations tournament. Travis Konechny, a player who they liked a year ago and decided not to bring to the Four Nations tournament. I mean, the few players who they decided to bring, like you can make the case for each and every one of them. Somebody was going to be left off, and there was going to be a couple quibbles. And, Sam Bennett unfortunately drew the short straw, and for whatever reason, they decided that they could probably win a gold medal without him. And whether that's because they, had to make the decision, do we want, the intangibles that Sam Bennett brings or the intangibles that Tom Wilson brings or Bo Horvat? Who can play in more situations? Who's a more situational player? Who can do special teams, kill penalties? Who's more likely to have success on the wing as opposed to down the center of the ice? So there could have been many different factors. Like, it's not just the date, but you look at the guys who were on the team and were selected, like the Suzukis, the Bo Horvats. Macklin Celebrini, obviously, is another guy who wasn't there at Four Nations who put himself into this conversation. It's tough to leave those guys off the roster, too. So regardless, there was going to be quibbles, and there was going to be somebody that was going to be upset, and Sam Bennett turned out to be that player.
Yeah, and let's face it, like, so much of this comes into who's picking the team, right? And judging by what Doug Armstrong said, and we're going to have him join us at 4:30, as you said, us brother. Rightly so, John Cooper, who's coaching this team, had a big say in it, and there's no doubt in my mind that
the Battle of Florida. There's a little animosity there between Coop and Sam Bennett.
I mean, I don't know about the animosity so much. Clearly, there's animosity between those two teams. We all know that. But look, I mean, Sam Reinhart and Brad Marchand are on the team, so they're both Florida Panthers, and they share that animosity. But I would just say it's more about the affection that John Cooper has for Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel.
Correct.
Right? As a penalty killing duo, as a very reliable defensive presence out there that would obviously lead John Cooper to push for those guys. Like, let's put it this way: if Paul Maurice is coaching this team, and he very well could, I mean,
Bennett's there.
Bennett's on this team,
Bennett's
without a
there.
doubt. So it's really that simple. It's about who's coaching the team, how much say he's got. John Cooper's a lawyer. John Cooper's one of the great arguer of points that we've ever met in the history of the sport. I would not like my chances as a player not on John Cooper's roster that's on the bubble against one of the players on John Cooper's team to make the team, because John Cooper's going to make a hell of an argument for you.
Yeah.
You know that. And he apparently made a hell of an argument for Anthony Cirelli and for Brandon Hagel.
Well, I think you could look at Doug Armstrong, same thing, right? Colton Parayko, that's another guy on the blue line who he was on the team last year, and he had an up and down tournament, but they won. They decided to return the exact 8 players that they took to the tournament and the Four Nations and bring all 8 of those guys to the Olympic Games. They didn't consider, but they didn't go with anyone else. They're bringing all 8 back.